In this video, we are continuing with the series of creating a Laravel package. In our previous episode, we did do an initial setup, and this is where we had reached. We were able to set up the contact form service provider, and we were able to just check that everything was working accordingly. In this video, I want us to create a form and then have it as a view, and then also submit something and save to the database. So we are going to do several things in just sorting out the concept of our Laravel package, that is the contact form package. So let us go right into it and continue and do some more things. I would first of all want to look at how we can be able to do routing. So what I want us to do, I want us to, inside the contact form directory, that is where I want us to have a folder which I'm going to call routes. And so inside here, I'm going to have a file that we will call web.php. And so this will be our routing file. And then we will have the PHP tag. And it is also important to ensure that we have included the route facade. So in this case, we can have use, illuminate, and then support, facades, and then route, like that. So basically that is how we can be able to load the route. And then I want us to have a route. So let me go and create a route. And this route will be the one that will be showing our create form for the contact page in the website. But for now, I just want it to be a get route. We will modify in due time. I just want to see if we can be able to actually get a hold of it. So let me just call it contact. And then maybe here we can just say function and then return view. Or maybe just return 1, 2, 3. And now we actually have a route. So let us go ahead and see how we can be able to load this route. And what we are going to, where we are going to load our route is in our, we will click on the source folder and then open the service provider that we created in the previous tutorial video. So I open the contact form service provider. And inside the boot method, I would like to uncomment, to comment whatever it is that we have there. And here we can just say this, load routes, and then we can say from, this load routes from, and inside here we can have underscore, we talk about the directory. So in this case, we have the directory, and then we can, so you have a full stop, and then we can be able to load our routes. So in this case, we can say we will go back one folder and then go to routes and then web.php. So basically that is how we will load our routes. And I would like us to just check and see if it is actually possible for us to have access to that route. So I refresh, and this, you clear everything out. I want to visit a route that is called contact. Now you can see we have 1, 2, 3, so meaning the route is being loaded perfectly. But in this case, I do not want to use the route in this fashion. I want us to load our route from a controller method. So we will go ahead and also create a controller and go on like that. So the controller, we are going to create it inside the source folder. So inside here, I want us to have a folder that we are going to call HTTP controllers, like that. So, and then inside here, I want us to have a new file that we are going to call contact form controller, like that, .php. And now inside our controller, what we are going to have, we are going to have the PHP tag. And then the first thing that we need to do is to namespace. So we're going to say namespace, and we will have Laravel. That was a vendor name. Then we will have contact form. If you did watch the previous video, this is the vendor name and the package name. Then of course now we can go to HTTP folder, which we have created, and then now controllers, like that. So that would be our namespace. I have done the forward slash. It's supposed to be backward slash, and that's okay. So inside here we can have our class, and we will have contact. It's supposed to be exactly the way we typed it, contact form controller, and then we can say it extends the base controller. So that is what we have. But of course we are talking about base controller, which we haven't imported here, so we can just say use illuminate routing controller as our base controller. So basically this is how our controller will look like, and I want us to have a controller method. So I'm going to have a public function, and I'm just going to call it create. I just want us to say return 1, 2, 3 again in a similar fashion. And now I want us to go back to our web.php. Now instead of having the controller loaded, the route loaded like that, we can now be able to pass in our controller method. And so we are going to have use above here, use Laravel contact form, and then HTTP, and then controllers, and then of course contact form controller, like that. And then here we can be able to just pass in the contact form controller class, and then state the method, which I think we have named create. So basically that is how our controller is supposed to be loaded. And I want us to try it out and see. And again, you can see it's giving us 1, 2, 3. I just want to be sure. We can be able to change our 1, 2, 3 to 3, 4, 5, something. If we are to save and attempt to refresh, now you can see 3, 4, 5, so everything is okay. And we can be able to hit this controller method. I want us to now look at how to create the views and also be in a position to load them. So outside the source folder, inside this contact form directory, is where I want us to have a new folder, which I'm going to call resources, and then views, like that. So that is our directory. And inside here, I want us to have a new file, which I would like to call it the create.blade, because create.blade.php. So just the normal way in which you will do a Laravel blade file. And I would like to do a little bit of a shortcut on some issues, because if we were to just continue the way we are continuing, we might find that the video is a bit too long. I want to do some shortcut somewhere, and I think the implementation would not be very difficult if you would want now to work without the shortcut. But let me just do this such that I can be able to move a little bit faster. So I'm going to just scaffold HTML5 document, and maybe I will call it contact form for the title. And then now if we are to now call this view, we can go to our service provider again. So the contact form service provider, and I want us now to load the views. And so what we are going to do, we are going to just have here this load views from, and again in a similar fashion we have the directory, and then we can be able to just pass in where it is that we are getting our views from. So you go back one folder, and then we are saying resources. So in this case, we are moving outside the source folder, and outside it, we are finding our resources, and then views, resources views. But in this case, we need to have two arguments. The second argument is the name of our package. So in this case, we can say contact form. So after we do it like this, we can actually be able to load the view. And now, the next thing that we need to do is to go to our controller, that is the contact form controller. And inside here, I want us to return view now. We are not going to return 345, we're going to return a view. And that is a view that we have created. So I'm going to pass in contact form. So in this case, in quotation marks, contact form. Remember, that is what we have written here. So the way we have referenced how our views will be gotten. So exactly the way that you have here, that is how you are going to reference it in our controller method. And then we use double colon, and then the name of our view. So our view is called create.blade.php. Basically, that is how we can be able to load views when you are working with you're creating a Laravel package. Remember, this is just one way of doing it. There is another way in which you can be able to do it, and you can be able to have it in this case whereby the views will be published to the Laravel application, the scaffolding, and it will not remain inside the package. So that is another way in which you can be able to do it. I do not want to cover both the scenarios. In this case, I'm not interested in maybe confusing anybody. So because of that, just let me stick to one way. So if I refresh, now you can see above here we have contact form. So meaning our view is actually being loaded perfectly. For purposes of CSS, I would like to just go to Tailwind CSS and just get the Tailwind CSS CDN. I would like to just do very little work on the formatting of everything. So allow me to take some shortcuts, please. And so this one I'm going to copy, and then inside our views, so we have create.blade inside here. What I want to do is I want to pass in our CSS link. And now we can be able to probably look for a contact form online. So contact form Tailwind CSS. Let me see what I'm going to get. And so let me check this one so we can check from the Tailwind components. And I think this one is okay. Let us work with this one here. So what I'm going to do is just to copy, and I'm going to paste that piece of code inside here. And so if we go back to our contact form and refresh, now you can see we have a nice form that we can be able to work with. And basically, this one can only work if you're connected to the internet. If you're not connected to the internet, it will be a little bit jumbled up, but it doesn't really matter. You can still be able to just follow with what we are doing. So after doing that, I want us to go ahead and be able to submit our form, because now we have a form, and I want us to just open the form and just scroll upwards here and look at the method to which the form has been submitted. So inside for the action, we are going to change this, and we are going to call the controller method with which the route with which we are going to submit, called the route submit message. Not very descriptive. And then of course we can have the CSRF protection for our form. And then I want us to go to our web.php, and I want us to create another route. And this route should be a post route, because that is what we have in our form. So route post, and here I want it to be submit, because that is what I have stated there, submit, and then /message. Then I also want this one to hit our contact form controller. So again, in a similar fashion, contact form controller class, and then the method, I want us to call it store, and then we will close that one like that. Of course, we have not created this method. I want us to go to the contact form controller and have another method here. We are going to have public function, and inside here we are going to have maybe public function store, and then we can use dependency injection to obtain the request data. So request like that, and above here maybe we can say use illuminate, and then HTTP request. I believe that is how it's supposed to be. And here we can just say return request all. We see what is going to happen. So since our form is nicely formatted, as we can see, also for the form we have the type, the name and all that, and then the placeholder and so on and so forth. So it means we can actually attempt to submit this form. So I want to just submit without anything and see what happens. Now we're having that the token is null, the name is null, and then the email is null, the subject is null, the message is null. So basically we are able to submit everything to our controller. I want us now to go ahead and maybe do validation inside our contact form controller. So we can be able to do validation, and here we will say validated. We can say is equals to request validate, and inside here we can have an array of our values. In this case we can say that the name, so that is the name of the person that is submitting the contact form. This one we can say that it is required, and maybe say maximum 255, something of that sort. Then we can copy this one downwards, and then we will have the email. Then we can say that we also require it to be an email. And then we have the subject. Still also for the subject we want it to have a maximum of 255. And then the last one is message, and for the message is required. We can just leave it at that. So we have done our validation, and that is okay. And now what we end up with is another question. How are we going to submit this request and save it in the database? So that is the next thing that we are going to work on. And so what I need to do is to create a route, to create a model and a migration. So let us go ahead and do that. For us to create a model, I'm just going to create the model in the normal way. You create it inside app models above here, and then we can be able to move it. So let me create inside our source, the package source folder. I want us to create another folder that I want us to call models. But in this case, in our application, we're just going to have one model. So here I'm going to do PHP artisan make model. The name of our model, let me just call it contact like that. And I also want to tag that it also creates a migration for us. So we have a model and we have a migration. So if I open database, let me begin with the model first, because we already have where we are going to put it. So we have a model above here which is called contact. So I want to just drag and drop it down here where we have models. So inside this folder, so you have contact.php. And then of course we need to namespace it. So in this case we will have Laravel, and then contact form. contact, I think it's contact form, small letters, like that. And then models, that is how we namespaced our app. And then after that, I think this one is okay. We can also go ahead and create a folder for the migration. And the migration, we will create it outside the source folder. So we are going to create it inside the contact form. And inside here, we can say new folder. We are going to have database, and then migrations, I think. So / migration to create the two directories. And then we can go inside our database folder up here. Let me close the app folder such that we can be able to view the migrations folder. So I open the migration. And the last migration is actually the migration that we need. So let me copy it. Let me just drag and drop inside the migration folder. So we have it inside here. That one is good enough. So the next thing that we need to do is to load our migration and also probably just modify it. So of course, for our contact, we need a table with a data type of string. And the first thing that we need is a name. So the name of the person that is trying to contact us. And then we will also need the email. And then we will need the subject. And then we will also need the message. And for the message, we can have the data type as text. Then of course, I think we do not need this last line. Now we need to load our migrations also the same way we have loaded the routes and we have loaded the views. So we will still go to our service provider and now load the migration. So let me close every other directory here. So you close this one such that we can be able to just view what we need. So I open the contact form service provider, and down here, I want us to now load our migration. So here we can say this, load migrations from this, load migrations from, and again, we will have the directory, and then we can be able to state the location of our migration. So again, we are moving one folder outside, and then we have database, and then we have migrations. So that is the folder that has the migrations. And once we do that, now if we are to connect our application to the database, so let me go ahead and do that. So we will open the env file, and inside here I want us to change the name of our database, and let us call it contact form, like that. So that is the name of our database. And then I want to also run XAMPP. So once XAMPP is running, we can go ahead and run PHP artisan migrate, and you will see that even the migration that we have loaded just now will be migrated. So PHP artisan migrate. And of course, because we do not have that database, we are going to be asked to create it. I will just click yes. And now you can see we have the normal migrations, users, password, resets, failed jobs, and then contacts table. And this is the one that we have actually loaded from our package. So basically, if one runs the migration, our package will also be able to persist the migrations that we created here inside the database. And that is good enough. So now I want us to go ahead and see how we can be able to save the message that is typed in now inside our controller. So after we have done the validation, I want us to go ahead and save, because we need to import the model above here. And so what we are going to type in, we are going to say use. So we're going to use the model that we have created. And so we will use the namespace the way we have it, so Laravel, and then contact form, and then after that we can have models, and then the name of our model, I think it's called contact, like that. So that will load our model. We can actually go ahead and now just save our new message. So we can say contact, we call that model, and we can say create, and inside here we just pass in validated that way, and that we'll be able to save our message, in this case that the user decided to type in. But we also need to do something small inside the model. So I open the contact model, and we need to just allow mass assignment. So we can say protected and fillable, and then inside here we can have name, email, subject, message. Those are the values that we have in our database. And now I want us to attempt and see if we can actually be in a position to save something in the database. And I'd like to just open our database here. And as it opens, I would like to type in a name, so we can say James at gmail.com, and then the subject, my subject, and then for the message you can say my message. When we submit, we have the message submitted, and I want to go to the database and check our contact form database and check inside here if we have a message. And actually you can see we actually have a message that has been sent. There are a few things that I would like to handle, and I would like to handle a little bit of validation and some things of that sort. So after we have saved our message in the database, I want us to redirect. So we can just say return back. We can say with. So this one is a flash messaging, and we can have success, and then we can say inquiry sent, something of that sort. Please wait for response. And so if I'm to submit again, now it will return us to the same page that we were at. So even if like that, if we are to type in something else, so William, and then William at example, and then a subject, and then message. If we submit now, you can see we'll be redirected back to the same page, even though the form will be cleared. I want us to just work on how we can be able to do the flash messaging and also handle the validation errors. And so I want us to open the form again, create.blade, and inside here I want us to handle the validation errors for each of the inputs that we have. So here we can have at error, let me just use at error, and then at end error, and this one I believe will cause us some problem, but we will attempt to see how we can be able to solve it. So we can check the error for the first item, which is name, or the input field that is name, and here we can have a div, and then we can pass in the error message. It's just purely validation, like that. And here we can have a class of maybe text red, maybe we can say red 800, like that. So it will display some reddish message. But once I do that, we have undefined variable errors. And how we can be able to sort that, we can be able to wrap our routes with maybe the two middlewares, that is web middleware and the guest middleware. So we can say route, and then we can say middleware like that. And then inside here we have two middlewares. We can pass an array of middleware. So the first one is guest, and the other middleware is web. And then we will have it as a group function, and then we will pass in our values here. So let me just cut, or let me just have it like that and create some space and just copy our routes and paste them inside there. I think that would be the best way to do it. So we can cut that and paste our routes inside here, just to solve that issue, and also some issues with the flash messaging. So it will solve two problems for us once we have it like that. So if I'm to refresh, now you can see we are having it like that. And if I attempt to submit, of course, we are having an error on the name field because that's the only one that we have worked with. And so I want us to go back to create.blade. And inside here, I want us to just copy whatever it is that we have for the validation errors for name. And I want us to go and also pass them in. And now we get validation for email. And then we will scroll and have validation for the subject. And then scroll one more time and then do the validation for the message. So in this case, if we are to refresh again and now attempt to submit, now what is happening? We are getting validation errors for all the fields. I also want us to handle the alerts, and I also just want us to have an alert here because inside our controller method, in our contact form controller, we are returning back with success inquiry sent. So I want us to also be able to display some alert here. And I just want to just search Tailwind CSS alerts. I do not want to type everything. I just want to go to the official Tailwind, and maybe this first one is good enough. We can pick the code and come and paste it in our create.blade. So I'll just scroll upwards and paste it maybe immediately before we have the form here, and save. Since whatever it is that we have is a success message, I would like to sort of modify some things. So the background should be green. I'm changing, and then also this one green. So anywhere we have red, we are replacing with green, even for the text. And then have I replaced everything? Let me see. Yes, we also have that text red here. I can say green like that. I hope I have replaced everything. Now, if we are to, because we have not been able to load it properly, right now it has to show. I just want to see how it looks like. Now it looks like that. And now here we can say success like that. And then here we can be able to pass the session message. So session success. Then we will use the newly created Laravel session blade variable. So at session success. So whenever we have the key that is called success, and here we can have at end session. Now if we are to refresh again and attempt and submit another message, so we can say John, and John at h.com, and then a subject, my new subject. Then here we can say my very new message. And if we attempt to submit, now you can see success inquiry sent. We will continue in our next video and also send an email on top of whatever it is that we're having here. And I think that will assist us to be able to pick some configuration values from our env into our package and be able to use those values. For example, the configuration values for the email, and be able to do the sending of the email. Thank you very much for following this tutorial video up until this point. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you are new to this channel, please consider subscribing. And also, if you have a question, don't hesitate to share in the comment section. Thank you.